Welcome to the Bahrain International Circuit after a very busy race day here, and the 2022 season opener ended with victory for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari. Now, as part of a new series we're bringing to Autosport this year, this is the Paddock Packdown, and as you can see all around me, we've got various boxes and forklift trucks, and everyone's sort of getting the end of the weekend done. But we're going to basically be, after races this year, giving you a full recap of what happened, the big stories, and what to look out for in the coming days on Autosport. Ferrari's win drought is over. After 910 days since Sebastian Vettel's victory at the 2019 Singapore Grand Prix, the Tifosi finally have something to celebrate once again. It was Charles Leclerc who took a brilliant victory for the team, dominating the race, leading home Carlos Sainz Jr. for a 1-2 finish. It's a perfect start to Ferrari's season and these new regulations. The team has worked very hard to recover over the past couple of years, but finally seems to be in a position where they can fight for race wins and maybe even a championship once again. Now, this was hardly a race that Leclerc won easily. He faced a really stiff challenge from Max Verstappen throughout the race. Verstappen started very well, put some pressure on Leclerc to begin with. Leclerc pulled out a couple of seconds lead through the first stint, and then as we got to the first round of pit stops, Verstappen managed to get the undercut and really hounded Leclerc. We saw some brilliant side-by-side battles between the two drivers just after the first round of pit stops. It's an interesting scene going wheel to wheel. I think it does speak to the new regulations that have come in. Is it easier to follow or not? I think the jury's still out. A lot of drivers we spoke to after the race, George Russell, Lando Norris, they were still a little bit uncertain, but that was a really thrilling fight, and I think it was really cool to see that happen between the two of them. Verstappen ran a little bit wide at one point, and that appeared to cause him to lose his tyres, lose his brakes a little bit as well. He dropped back, and from there Leclerc went pretty much unchallenged. We had a late safety car period after Verstappen's third stop, and that threatened to bunch the field, maybe give another chance to the Red Bull driver and reigning world champions to fight back and take the win. But in the end, it wasn't to be. A fuel pump issue caused Verstappen to retire with 3 laps to go, meaning Leclerc led Sainz home and a 1-2 finish for Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton completing the podium for Mercedes. Now, I think it was a big surprise, I think, for Ferrari to have been so quick. After Friday, my colleague Alex Kalinauckas for Autosport Plus, he crunched the numbers, and it looked like Red Bull had a real advantage when it came to race pace. But that wasn't to be today. Verstappen said after the race that, he just didn't quite have the pace to take the fight to Ferrari. Now, throughout the race, we did hear Max Verstappen getting quite emotional, frustrated, angry, even on the radio at points. He wasn't happy with the strategy. He said that he felt he could have been told to push harder on the outlaps, and they had a chance to easily get ahead of Leclerc, but they told him not to push too much because it would take too much out of the tyres. We also heard him obviously getting very frustrated with the steering issue that he was reporting. Said the car felt like a robot at points, and it was really having its toll on his arm. Verstappen spoke after the race. He said it's naturally very disappointing, and he recognises that losing 18 points this early on in the title race, even with 21, maybe 22 races to go, that can have a big impact. It was so close last year that these kind of DNFs, they're not what you want. Perez said it was a very low day for Red Bull after the double DNF, for both having fuel pump issues, and I think that Red Bull, they've got a lot of work to do if they want to try and sort of find out what the issues were, particularly with the fuel pump issue. We're only a week away from Jeddah, of course. Christian Horner, he was asked, you got the race in a week's time, are you confident you can basically get to the bottom of this issue? And he simply said, we have to find a solution. The other interesting thing is that the fuel system is, of course, a standard part. So that's not something Red Bull have designed themselves. It's what they're given. And I guess it's just for the team to get to the bottom of what caused the issue that caused both of their cars to retire late on and come away with 0 points from this weekend. And Carlos Sainz Jr. in second place as well. That elusive first F1 win still not quite coming his way. But if Ferrari can continue this form this year, it would be very surprising if he didn't win a race. And I think the Tifosi are going to be in for a very fruitful year indeed. Now, joining Leclerc and Sainz up on the podium is Lewis Hamilton, who I think was quite surprised to be up there, all things considered. It was a very difficult weekend for Mercedes. All of the talk about them maybe sandbagging or not showing their true potential through testing, that turned out to be wrong. They literally did not have the pace. They really struggled. The porpoising on the car, it meant that they couldn't get the downforce working. They were losing downforce so much. That caused Hamilton to slump to 5th place in qualifying, and he looks set to finish 5th as well. Him and George Russell running P5 and P6 until the double DNF for Red Bull, with Sergio Perez dropping out late on. I think that Mercedes, they can really count their lucky stars. They've had a very fruitful day, a good step forward for them in the championship fight as well, all things considered, because I know it is early, but it's so important to get these points early on, and if Mercedes can come away from their bad days still bagging a 3rd and a 4th place, I think that's a really good result for them. The team does have work to do going into Jeddah. George Russell was very open about that. He said we sort of learned a bit more by running the car over this race distance, but we absolutely cannot think that we've got to the bottom of it or that we're on a par to be able to fight with Ferrari or Red Bull at all yet. Now, another team that has a lot to be celebrating tonight is, of course, Haas. Kevin Magnussen finished the race in 5th place. I mean, 2 weeks ago, he wasn't even driving an F1 this season. He could have been waking up today as a Sebring 12-hour race winner, but instead, he was taking Haas to its best result in 4 years. The team, I think we saw through testing glimpses of what they could do. As qualifying came along, he obviously got it into Q3. In the race, though, he was pretty much in no man's land. He ran really, really well. He never really looked in trouble. Even took the fight to the Mercedes guys very early on, which was really cool to see. But in the end, came home 5th after those 2 late DNFs for Red Bull. And just a great day for the team after 2 years of strife, similar to Ferrari. They've really, really struggled to come away now with such a big point, so fantastic for them. Gunther Steiner, we spoke to him after the race, and he said, look, after 2 years of shit, like finally we have something great to celebrate. The team has worked so hard, and I think we've just seen the mood in the Haas team really go up and up and up over the past couple of weeks. It's a great story. I think there's such a good vibe in the paddock tonight. Like, it's really, really cool. I think everyone's very, very happy. Gunther said that he reckons the Haas boys will maybe pack up about an hour earlier than normal, because they'll have a chance to go to the bar and get a few beers in. And I said, oh, are you going to join them? And he said, I don't know, I'm a bit of an old man, so I may not. But yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots to celebrate for the Haas team tonight. They're 3rd in the championship as well, which I put to Steiner, and he said, yeah, that's not going to last, but I'll take it while it comes. He did say, though, that there is confidence this won't be a one-off, that Haas will be able to fight for points really, really regularly this year. I think they can be really happy with what they've achieved this weekend. So, yeah, very well done to Haas. Down at Alfa Romeo as well, the other Ferrari-powered team, both cars getting in the points. And that comes despite a really bad start. Bottas dropped back very, very quickly. He started on the same row as Lewis Hamilton, started 6th on the grid. Then he did drop back, as did Guan Yu Zhou as well. But the pace of the car, it really did shine through in the end. Bottas was able to come home with a really decent haul of points, and Zhou scored a point on his debut. I was standing just over there, actually, where the media interviews were taking place after the race, and just outside the FIA weighbridge and all of that, so the drivers do their first checks, come and get collected by their PRs, and Zhou was like visibly emotional. He was in tears. He was hugging his crew, everyone he works with. Very well done to Guan Yu Zhou. It did take him a few minutes to really collect himself after all of that, because I think he was just so emotional. And why wouldn't you be? I think it's a really great statement for him to have made. And that, I think, points to where Ferrari is with its engine. All 3 are Ferrari-powered teams, of course. Clearly, the team has made a really big step forward with its engine for this year. Gunther Steiner said he reckons it's the best in F1. If not, it's up there. There's no difference between the 2 of them. On the flip side of that, though, we've got Mercedes, and the Mercedes power teams really struggled today. In the bottom 6 at one point, it was all 6 Mercedes customer cars from Aston Martin, Williams, and McLaren. McLaren in particular, they had a really, really difficult day. It was just not a good race for them whatsoever. Lando Norris, he came over to the media pen, and he was kind of like chuckling a little bit and laughing, and I saw this like a brave face, and he was like, yeah, kind of has to be. But he was relatively upbeat, all things considered. But I think that they've got a lot of work to do. He said that it's not just about straight line speed. He said the car was lacking a lot of downforce. That was something echoed by Daniel Ricciardo as well. And in the end, it's been a real sobering day for them. Next up, we go to Jeddah, and I think McLaren, they know, again, not a lot is going to turn around in a week, but they said we just got to learn as much as we can, hope we can unlock a bit more performance from this car. But for a team that has fought so highly in the past couple of years, and of course won a race last year, to have struggled so much, it will be a disappointment. So that is it for the first Paddock Packdown of the year. It's been a really good weekend in Bahrain. As I said earlier, there's just such a good vibe around the paddock right now. I think everyone's really excited for the season to come. In a week's time, we move on to Jeddah, of course. It's going to be another chance to see what the pecking order is looking like. I reckon the porpoising issue might rear its head a little bit more. That track, very, very bumpy. It's a street circuit, of course. I think the other big storyline is this fight between Red Bull and Ferrari. How does it rage on through the season? But until then, we'll have all the news and analysis on autosport.com in the coming days. But thank you very much for watching.